to talk about poop today and not flushing toilet paper in Mexico. I had to baby-step my way into being okay with not flushing, number one. I had to be okay with not flushing monthly moments, and I've since worked my way into not flushing any toilet paper at all. And I want to, I guess, clarify the biggest misconception that I had, at least, this fear that everything was going to smell horribly and that it would just be a disastrous thing to do. So here's what I'm going to say. You're not collecting the poop. You're wiping yourself and you're throwing just the toilet paper into the garbage can while you allow the waste to go down the flush, okay? It's something you don't think about because it's not like we look at the toilet paper afterwards to like see what happens. But what I have found is that the toilet paper really doesn't collect that much. Anyway, so my point is, it's not that big of a deal. You're not putting poop into the trash can, you're putting the tissue paper into the trash can. I have been taught Mexicans apparently hate it when people from the US refer to ourselves as American because they think of anyone from the Americas, North, Central, South, as American. I think that's a valid point. I understand the annoyance and confusion. I do say I'm from the States or I'm from the United States. That's a thing, but sometimes it slips and I say I'm from America. Not inaccurate. I am, under all definitions, an American. But I will also say this. My mother was not Japanese. She was a Nihonjin. This also actually happened in Italy. When I would refer to my Italian coworkers as Italian, they would correct me and say, Neapolitan. Thirdly, a Mexican may refer to themselves as coming from Mexico as opposed to the United States of Mexico, which is also the proper name of Mexico. Am I an expat or an immigrant? Expat is an expatriate. It's somebody who has left their home country. There is an implied forever concept, but obviously we can never know the future. Immigrant is somebody who has gone to a foreign country with the intention of staying forever. I consider myself to be a slow traveler. I stay in a place for months or years, and then I move to another location. And so I don't consider Mexico to be the place that I'm always going to be. And so expat seems like the word that would apply much more to myself, but I think there's a lot of nuances to these words that implies permanency. I don't consider myself anything but a US citizen. I definitely want to be able to and plan to go back to the US once I am of an age where travel is just not feasible. In that sense, I don't consider myself an expat. I don't necessarily relate to either word. I don't really mind if people use either term in reference of my lifestyle, but on a personal note, yeah, kind of neither. I really don't have trouble with the peso versus dollar conversion. Like, it's approximately 1 to 20, and that's relatively easy math for me. However, I really feel like I waste people's time looking for coins. And so occasionally I will fill my wallet with 2 denominations of the coins. It helps because when I go to pay for something, I know that I've got nothing but 5s and 1s, and so of course, because they're different sizes, they're easier to see. And so these are all the coins laid out nicely. You have your 10 pesos, and it does say 10 on top, and honestly the 10 pesos don't bother me because it's physically larger and a different color, so it's just easier to find. But the ones that drive me nuts are the 5, 2, 1, and these guys, 50-cent pieces. Okay, so I've made some piles. Alex has dropped some piles. I put all the 5s and only some of my 1s because I've still got piles of 1s because my wallet is already full, but you can see how they just blur together. So at least now I know I've got 5s and 1s, and that's how I organize it. A random thing that I am really glad not to have to deal with here in Mexico, and that's in Merida as well as San Cris, is I've never had a smoke alarm. And I am constantly burning something. And I'm so glad that as I'm burning something, I don't have this annoying, loud alarm reminding me that I'm not the best cook in the world. So yes, that's an odd thing, but I'm really glad there are no smoke alarms in any of the houses I've ever had in Mexico. One of the things you're gonna notice in Mexico is that all the food tastes a little bit different, even from brands that you're familiar with in the US or other locations. And it's something you just have to get used to, no big deal. But this one always catches me because it literally shows jalapenos and cheese. And so you kind of just assume that it's gonna have those flavorings, at least, on the chip itself. But no, it's just a regular tortilla chip, no flavoring. You don't have to worry about it being spicy. So the story of that little door is, instead of a tooth fairy, they have a
tooth mouse. and he wants to build a bridge to the moon out of teeth because he thinks the moon is made out of cheese so that he can eat the moon, which is weird.
Just like the regular tooth fairy, this mouse also leaves generally pesos or some type of gift when he takes your tooth.
You look at me like I'm crazy when I shut my feelings out. You look at me like I'm different.